Om Sadashiva-Samarambam Vyasa-Shankara-Madhyamam Asmadacharya-Paryantam Vande Guru-Paramparam Shruti-Smriti-Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad-Padam Shankaram Loka-Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra-Bhasha-Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah-Punaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति शांति शांतिः सच्चिदानंद रूपाय कृष्णाय क्लिष्टकारिणे नमो वेदांत वेद्याय गुरवे बुद्धिसाक्षिणे कृष्णद्वैपायनं व्यासं सर्वलोकहिते रतं वेदाब्जभास्करं वन्दे क्षमादिनिलयं मुनिं सहस्रमूर्ते पुरुषोत्तमस्य सहस्रनेत्रानपादबाहो सहस्राम्नां स्तवनं प्रशस्तं यदुच्यते जन्मजनादिशान्तैः So we were in verse number 8. ईशानः प्राणदः प्राणो ज्येष्ठश्रेष्ठ प्रजापतिः हिरण्यगर्भो भूगर्भो माधवो मधुसूदनः. So we finished up to Shrestha. So Shreshtam means the one who is most praiseworthy, or Shreshtam. So there are no enough words to praise the Bhagavan. So it's called Shreshtaha. So all of the glories belong to the Bhagavan. So it's called Shreshtaha. The next word is called Prajapatihi, word number 69. So Praja itself means people. So Praja means people and Patihi means the Lord. So, or the ruler. So Patihi means ruler. So the ruler of the people is called Prajapati. So Prajapati here refers to the creator, also called Brahma. Or Brahmaji is called Prajapati because he is the one who has been given the job by Mahavishnu here to present this universe in diversity, in different colors. Also the one who is responsible for the sustenance of the universe. So he's got a role there. But even the Brahmaji itself is actually overseen by Mahavishnu. So even he is the Pati of the Prajapati also. So here Vishnu is referred as the ultimate Prajapati or the ultimate ruler. And number 70, word number 70 is Hiranyagarbha. So Hiranyam itself means gold. Hiranya means gold. And the Garbham, when you say Garbha, means the Adharam or the Adhishtanam or the substance of every living and non-living being. So here he refers again to the Brahmaji, which is in the epicenter. And he is in the middle of everything, correct? So the golden orb, if you read some text, you will measure as in the golden orb. The English meaning of that is golden orb, but we call Sanskrit Hiranyagarbha. So Brahmaji also referred as Hiranyagarbha, right? Because Hiranyam itself means what? Shining. Gold is never actually very dull in color. Gold always shines. That's why people like gold. We wear only gold ornaments because even diamond etc. are there, but nothing shines like gold because diamond again is stone. You cannot wear a full diamond stone, so gold is very more popular. And also gold you can actually redo things and recreate things. So gold is supposed to be mentioned here, Hiranyagarbha. Right? Then next one is called Bhugarbha. So Bhuhu itself means earth. Right? So when you say the Bhu, the body, mind, sense complex, that is the entire structure of us. We have got a body, we have got a mind, and the entire sensory perception, 5 senses, sensory powers. Everything is comprised of called this Bhuhu. Right? So if you look at the outside also, the earth also has got a physical appearance, correct? Body. It has got its own intelligence, how the earth itself has been created and how it sustains everything on its own. And it is also made of 5 elements. Right? So we've got all the 5 elements in the earth because earth is supposed to be the grossest of everything. So grossest to subtlest. So earth has got all the 5 elements. Then if you go one level above, it has got 4 elements, then 3 elements, 2 elements, and Akasha has got only 1 element. And beyond Akasha, which is the Brahman or the consciousness, has got no elements. Correct? It is beyond elements. So as you start coming from the top to the bottom, earth is the grossest. So Bhugarbha, I say here, he sustains the entire earth in this, is encompassed. So it's called Bhugarbha. Then Madhavaha. So 72 is Madhavaha. Right. So Maya Priyaha Patihi Madhavaha. So Ma itself means Lakshmi. So the word Ma is Lakshmi, the mother. So goddess mother we call, right? So Ma. And Davaha, when you say the holder of the Lakshmi. So it's called Lakshmi Pati. So Madhavaha, when you say, it means the holder of the Lakshmi or the one in which Lakshmi is firmly entrenched. So the power represents the goddess, right? Lakshmi. And Jnanam represents the Vishnu. So power and Jnanam both together represent, they're always together. You cannot never separate them. So it's called, that's why Madhavaha. So in Vedantic view, we call them as the Upadana Karanam and Nimitta Karanam. That means Upadana means the material cause. So he has got all the materials required for creating this universe and also all the knowledge required to create this universe. So he does not have to go anywhere beyond ask for anything. See, ourselves, we are limited because we have only limited availability. So for creating anything or knowing anything, we have to go outside of to ask somebody. But Bhagavan being a nature of Madhavaha, the one who has got the power and the knowledge both together, he doesn't have to go and ask anybody or doesn't have to request anybody. So he's actually, that's why we worship him. Otherwise, he'll also be like an ordinary person like us. Right? So he's the one to be known. Right? So Davaha also means Patihi or the husband. So Madhavaha means Lakshmi Pati. Another name for Madhava is Lakshmi Pati. And Lakshmi is also called Shri, wealth. So he is the one which is to be known, to be contemplated upon. Right? Then number 73, word number 73 is called Madhusudanaha. So Madhusudanaha means, Sudana means killer or vanquisher of demons, of Rakshasas. So Sudanaha means the vanquisher or killer of demons. Why his name Madhusudana came? Because there's a demon called Madhu. And it's said in the Puranas that he was born from the ear of the Bhagavan. So there's a time when he robbed the Vedas and disappeared. He took all the Vedas and disappeared. All the Devas, all the Rishis, everybody said that if the Veda itself is disappearing from this Rakshasa, takes everything and destroys it, there will be nothing here to protect the people. Because the Vedas are supposed to be, today we have the text, Vishnu Sahasranama. Assuming that, we don't have text at all. Somebody, like, there are many texts in India which people don't even know they're existing. We don't have any text. We only a few of them. There are countless number of texts which was destroyed by the Mughals, by the Britishers, by the invaders who came into India. And they, because the spirit of Christianity, Islam, and everything else, we lost our culture. Right? So, as and when we are invaded, or as and when we give the chance to other religions to succeed, we lose our own astitvam. We lose our own part of the culture. So, whatever is preserved is there. But this is talks about an era where it's a story only. So, Madhusudanaha is, Madhu was a demon who took the Vedas and disappeared. Right? And Vishnu had to kill him to restore the Vedas. Right? In reality, what it says here, this Madhu is actually not a it's a demon, a Rakshasa. But what it says here is the Madhu represents the Rakshasas inside our physical body and our mind. See, there are lots of Rakshasas which are sitting there. What are Rakshasas? They are all Asuras. Asuras are what? Bad thoughts, bad deeds, those which are within all of us. So it's not that we are always bad. There are always some bad thoughts and good thoughts. So there are always bad thoughts sometimes which we need protection from. And what does this Vishnu do, or Vishnu Sahasranama chanting does, is it actually removes or wards off those kind of defects or those kind of thoughts which are demons inside of us. So Sahasranama is supposed to be a purification, a mantra which purifies or which gives protection. That is why people chant Vishnu Sahasranama. So Vishnu Sahasranama should be chanted if you don't know anything else. So if you don't study Vedas, if you don't study anything, don't go to temple, don't believe in anything, if you just chant Vishnu Sahasranama also, it is supposed to be more than enough. But it's only for protection. You're only asking for protection. That's all it is. It's not going to give absolute protection. It's going to give relative protection. Okay. So it's called Madhusudanaha. So here the Madhu represents our ahankara, or the concept of I am. Right? And mind also is the Srishti of the Bhagavan. See, the Bhagavan has given the mind. And the mind itself is comprised of Manaha, Buddhi, Chit, and Ahankara. So there are 4 parts of the mind. So Ahankaram is what here represents as the demon. So the concept of Ahankara has to be resolved. See, Ahankara cannot be dropped. One cannot say that I will not have Ahankara from tomorrow. You will always have Ahankara, because if you don't have the I am concept, you will not be able to live. So, but understanding what the right is important. So that's what Madhusudanaha. Then next one, 74. We go to next verse. Verse number 9. Ishvaro Vikrami Dhanvi, Ishvaro Vikrami Dhanvi Medhavi Vikramakramaha, Ishvaro Vikrami Dhanvi Medhavi Vikramakramaha, Anuttamo Duradarsha Kritagya Kritiratmavan, Anuttamo Duradarsha Kritagya Kritiratmavan, Ishvaro Vikrami Dhanvi Medhavi Vikramakramaha, Anuttamo Duradarsha Kritagya Kritiratmavan. So, verse number 74. Ishvaraha. So, Ishvara, everybody knows. Whether in sleep also, you say Ishvara. Very protective. Ishvara is something which is the Sarvashaktiman, or Ishvara is the one which is the manifested and also the unmanifest. So when I say manifest, it means all those things which you see in this universe. is Ishvara. Including us is Ishvara. All of them which is Ishvara. The one which is also unmanifest also is Ishvara. Right? So it's a complete overlordship, complete power over everything called Ishvara. That's why we have Ishvara. Then Vikrami. See, Vikram, when I say, is a person is a valiant person, brave person, right? So why does the Bhagavan have to be, why is called the Vikrami here? Because the V in this word denotes Garuda. The V in the word denotes the Garuda. And Bhagavan has this Vaganam as Garuda, right? Who is the king of the skies, right? So there is nobody in the sky who can obstruct Garuda, because Garuda is supposed to be the bird of the sky. So the bird, when the Garuda flies, there's no obstruction. That's why. So when they say what Takshaha, see in the Swasti mantra, Swasti Nastarksho Arishtanemihi. So Takshaha Arishtanemihi. So Takshaha is the same as Garuda here. And Arishtanemi means the one who has got unobstructed flight. So like the eagle, when the eagle flies, nobody can come near an eagle, correct? Because it always flies very high. And from a very high point, it can see even the smallest object running there. Even the small, cat or small kitten lying there, it can come from there and just swoop and quickly take it. Right? So Bhagavan also has got this overlordship of seeing from the very, very top, right? So B, right? So Vikramaha, right? So Shauryam Dadhati iti Vikramaha. Means Shauryam means what? Viryam. Dadhati means the one who gives. So Vikrami is the one who has got all the power. Powerful, most powerful. Sarva Shaktiman, called Vikrami. Then Dhanvi, next one, 76th word is called Dhanvi. So Dhanuhu means what? Bow. I think everybody knows Dhanu, right? Dhanu. And Dhanvi means the holder of the bow or the wielder of the bow. It's called Dhanvi. So if you look at, even Bhagavan Vishnu is called Sharangapani, right? So Sharangapani, when I say Sharanga is also the name of the bow, correct? And Panihi means the one who has got the bow in his hand is called Sharangapani. Dhanvi, also same word. Correct? So even Rudram also is called what? Dhanuhu, correct? Dhanvane, Namaste Asu Dhanvane, Bahubhyam Mutate Namaha. So Dhanvane means what? The one who is the holder of the Dhanu is called Dhanvane. Dhanvi is the wielder of the bow. So in Rudram it is Dhanvane, where the Bhagavan Shiva is worshipped as the holder of the Dhanu, the bow. Here we call Vishnu as the Dhanvi, the holder of the bow. Then 77 is called Medhavi. So Medhavi means sometimes we also sometimes say, our parents can sometimes say, oh, you are a big Medhavi. So this sarcastically will say, oh, you are Kallamadari, he knows everything. He's a Medhavi. So, my father will say, oh, you know already everything. What it means is like, sometimes the father and the mother, they sometimes criticize you to say that if you want to say something, I know. See, in today's children, before you even talk to anybody, they say, I know. You don't have to say anything to them. You just say one word, I know. So if you say, I know, then the other person doesn't have a chance to say anything because you already know that. So if you say, I know, it means that either you don't want the person to say anything more or you're not in the mood to listen. So in such a case, what the other person thinks, oh, he's already a Medhavi, he knows everything. So you don't say anything. Sometimes they have a habit. It is a habit of bad habit of saying I know. So if at all whenever you say I know what I'm doing, then nobody says, oh, so you know what you're doing, then you don't need my advice. So here Medhavi doesn't mean that. So Medhavi here means the one. Medha means the intellect, not the power of knowing is intellect. So if at all you know something, that something which you know is because of the presence of the Bhagavan there. So the intellect is present as the Medha. And Medhavi is the one who is not just our intellect, it is a collective intellect for every Srishti in this universe. So my intellect, your intellect, the people who are in the class intellect, other people who are not in the class intellect, all the intellect put together is called Medhavi. Right? So, and whatever is unknown to us also is called Medhavi. Correct? Because when you say, I know, that means you know something. The opposite of I know is I don't know. Right? So, know also is present in I. See, you cannot, I don't, there's no word, correct? So, you should say I know or I don't know. So, the know implies what knowledge. Right? So, that's called Medha. So, whether you say I don't know also is present because of the intellect only. Right? Only the Buddhi says I don't know. Who says it? You say it. But when you say I means what? Your body doesn't say it. Your Buddhi says, intellect says, Medha says. Right? So, Medhavi. She is a person who is present in the knowing and also in the not knowing. Correct? So in the Bhagavad Gita also we have na Sarvasya Shaham Hridi Sannivishtaha Matas Smritis Jnanam Apohanancha Vedaicha Sarvair Ahameha Vedyaha Vedanta Krit Vedavidek Chaham. In chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita is there. Sarvasya Shaham Hridi Sannivishtaha Matas Smritir Jnanam Apohanancha Vedaicha Sarvair Ahameha Vedyaha Vedanta Krit Veda Videha Chaham. So, Matas Briti means remembrance, Jnanam, knowledge, Apohanam, forgetfulness. So, even if you say I am forgetful, forgetful also is Bhagavan present there. If you say I know, there also Bhagavan present there. Right? So, whether your remembrance, your knowledge, your not knowing, or your ignorance, in everything I am present. So that's what called Medhavi. So it's a very, this particular thing is a very big word because Medhavi says that everything which I remember is Bhagavan. Which I don't remember also is Bhagavan. Then 78th word is called Vikramaha. So if you look at Vikramaha, it's not Trivikramaha, correct? So Trivikramaha means what? It refers to the Vamana Avatara. Right? So he's the one who measured the universe. So Trivikramaha, also called Vamana Avatara. So in Vamana Avatara, what? Just to kill the ego of Bali, the king, the Asura king, he had to take the avatar of Vamana Avatara. So he measured, just in 3 steps, the entire universe. Because what Bali said, I'll give you 4, boons. You can ask whatever you want. So Bhagavan said, really, you can give me 4 things? So yes. So with 1 step he covers entire universe, another step contains all the skies, 3rd step he covers the Antariksham. Then he says there's a 4th one left there. Because the Bhu belongs to Bhagavan, Antariksham belongs to Bhagavan, the sky belongs to Bhagavan. And Bali sitting there and the Rishis are telling him that don't see, Vishnu is a very tricky fellow. Do not give anything to him. He will come in some form and he will make you take everything. But Mahabali, because of the Ahankara, he said that what he's going to take, I got all the riches. I got everything. What he can take from me? He doesn't know that Bhagavan owns everything, including him. The Ahankara also is owned by Bhagavan. So he said, I conquered everything. There's nothing here for you to give me. No, then he says, like, he finally understands that this person, Vaman Avatara, comes with a, small fellow with a umbrella and with some, glasses, etc. He is actually not an ordinary person. So he says, I understand that you are not somebody ordinary. You are Mahavishnu in some form or the other. So I surrender to you. You keep your fourth thing on my head. So, because he came mainly with of pushing the Ahankara, so he kept the head, the foot on the head of Mahabali, and then he pushed him into the Patala Loka. That's why in Onam every time they come. See what Onam festival, what Mahabali is being celebrated. As the Bali is coming from the Asura Loka, he is coming into the Loka, and then he is being remembered. Right? So it's all Trivikramaha. So Vikramaha, Trivikramaha. Then Kramaha. See, the word is different. Kramaha, Kramam means order. Right? So Kramena, when you say orderly, and Vikramaha is different. Okay. So there, Kramaha, Vikrama, both are different. Vikramaha, there talks about Trivikramaha. Vikram. And Kramaha, when you say here, it means order. He is in a particular order. So he is present in all the order which you see. Like you'll never see the seasons come and go, correct? The months come and go. You can never say that I want to change December to January now. Or I'm getting bored of this summer now. Let us have entire 12 months as winter only. Or I am fed up of this ocean. I want to have only river. You cannot, because there's an order. And there's an order in the entire system. See, look at the way the universe is functioning. Imagine there are countless amount of satellites, or sun, moons, the stars are there. And there are planets which are orbiting the sun. They are all orbiting according to what? An order. If there is no order, then all this thing will just randomly fall, right? So one day this satellite will come down, other star will fall down, or this entire Bhuloka will go up. So there will be chaos. So because he is maintaining that order, it's called Kramaha. So in a particular order it is maintained, correct? So even when you grow also into a human being, there's an order. You cannot just wish from when you are not even born. See, mother is just giving birth to a child. She cannot say that, suddenly you just go big. Because see, the mother says, when are you going to become bigger? When are you going to come out? And because sometimes the mother also is very upset about the child. There's so much of nutcut, so much of problems is creating. I'm fed up. When are you going to grow out? Right? So see, just because you want to grow, the child cannot grow, correct? It has to be given the time. You have to give that much time for the child to grow. Mentally, physically, and emotionally also the child has to grow. So there's an order. So it's called Kramaha, correct? So even in case of tree also, if you have a mango tree in your garden, you want to plant a mango tree, just because you plant a mango seed, you're not going to get mango next day. You're going to get a mango maybe in 7 years or 5 years, and you have to be very patient. So first of all, the tree will have to get established. It has to go under the roots. Then the leaves has to come. You have to water it. You have to maintain it. You have to be very patient with the whole tree. You get frustrated. Nothing can be done. So there's an order. So what it talks about, Kramaha. Whenever you see all the Srishti, there's a particular order. Right? Then Anuttamaha, number 80. Anuttamaha. So Uttamaha itself means superior. And Anuttamaha means what? That which is extremely superior. Anuttamaha. So there's nobody who is superior to him in terms of knowledge. There's nobody equal to you also. Right? Then Duradarshaha. So Duradarshaha, let's say here, a person who cannot be defeated by anybody. So Duradarshaha means a person who cannot be defeated by anybody, because he is the person who is the holder of all the weapons. Correct. So he has got ultimate overlordship. That's why he is called Duradarshaha, the one cannot be defeated. Correct. See, in the Ras Leela, when gopis were, see, gopis are always, playing around Krishna. Whenever Krishna's flute stops, gopis will stop. And Radha is also used to always be, jealous of the gopis, because he says, you got so many gopis who are dancing around you, and they all are dying for you. And here I am actually, a person committed only to you, and you do not have time for me, but you have time for all the gopis. So he says, like, it's not like this, Radha. It's not. I'm not away from you. So because of his nature of Krishna being a cowherd, he goes different places, etc. And sometimes he's away from Radha for many times. But whenever Radha meets the gopis, he says, no, Krishna is always here with us. He's always here. He says, how can you be here? How can you be there? Then later on, Krishna says that they are not gopis. They are not gopis, they are my thoughts. So gopis are none other than my thought, representing, because the thoughts are never away from you, correct? Can you say that my thought is actually in Sri Lanka or India and I'm in Australia? Your thoughts are always with you. You can never take away the thought from you wherever you go, correct? Whether you like it or not, that's how it is. So the gopis were always thoughts, and because they were always with this Varanam of Krishna, they never were away from Krishna at all. Whereas Radha being, she was thinking more of physical connection. So she was seeing Krishna as a physical person, as somebody who needs to be given love, affection, etc. So Radha could feel the pain of separation. Right? So when our thoughts are with the Bhagavan all the time, when our thoughts and our Bhagavan thoughts same, there is no question of being separate from the Bhagavan. There is no separation at all. Right? Separation happens only when two things are different. Right? That's what it says here, Duradarshaha. Right? So Radha had Dvaita Bhavaha and gopis had Advaita Bhava. Right? That's why they were not having any problem. They always felt. So whenever Krishna used to play the flute, thoughts used to be there and they used to dance wherever they are. Right? Then 82, word number 82, Kritagyaha. See, Kritam means actions. Correct? Kritam means actions. And the Nyaha means Kritam plus Nyaha. Nya. So Nya denotes knowledge. So the knower of all actions is called Kritagyaha. So he is a person who knows all his actions. So when you say there's nobody physically sitting there and watching your actions, there's really no Bhagavan sitting there and watching all your actions and giving you punishment. You are the witness. So you yourself know what you're doing or what you're not doing. Correct? There's nobody need to come and tell you that you're doing this, or internally in your own mind, in your own heart, you know what you are. Correct? So even though, so that's why he called Kritagyaha. So he's present as the knowledge in all of us, as the essence in all of us, and because being the nature of all-knowing, Sarvagyaha. So Sarvagyam means what? All-knowing. Right? Alpagyam means limited knowledge. Sarvagyam means all knowledge. Right? So because being of nature Sarvagyaha, all-knowing nature, he is called Kritagyaha. So knower of all actions. Then 83rd verse, 83rd word, kritihi. So kriti means what? The responsible for the effort of the actions. So karma phaladhata. So kriti, see, kritaha means action. Kritagyaha means knower of the actions. Because he is knower of the actions, he is also responsible. He knows what result to give you also. Right? So kritihi means even the effort you put into Bhagavan is kritihi. The results which you're getting also is kritihi. Correct? So every thought is Bhagavan. Every action is Bhagavan. Every result is Bhagavan. So thought, action, and result is Bhagavan. So there cannot be anything outside of him. So this is called bhakti also. See, in bhakti also, in bhakti, the philosophy is like this. So they surrender to the Bhagavan in total. Right? So whatever actions they do is Bhagavan, whatever remembrance is Bhagavan, and everything is Bhagavan. Right? So bhakti's philosophy is there. Same here talks about here as kritihi. Right? And Atmavan. See the word Atmavan. So the word Atma, when you say here, it represents the consciousness, the conscious principle. So it is actually deep Vedantic topic, but I'll try to give an example of how easy to understand it. So Atma is the one by which everything else is known. Okay. But Atma itself cannot be understood. It is not an object of knowledge. An example I can give you is an electric bulb. See, in your house, all of us have got a tube light or a bulb. The bulb actually gives you radiance, correct? The physical bulb itself, has come in different shapes and colors. It will have red color, it will have tube color, it will have 4 feet bulb, 6 feet bulb, tube lights. You'll have flat, different types of light, down lights. So many things are there. But in all of so our physical body also is like this. Right? Our physical body also comes in different shapes and colors, and different varieties also. So you can relate the physical body to the external bulb which is there in your home. So even if you look up in your house, you'll see there's a light there. So the bulb is always the external body, which is what we have. Now inside the bulb, there is a filament, correct? What burns? Does the bulb burn or the filament burn? The filament is the one which is burning, right? So the filament is the one which burns, and that what actually illumines the bulb. So if you have a red color bulb, you do not have a red filament. The filament is only the same color, but the external bulb can be of different colors. You can have a red dome outside, and it will give you a red dome, red color. You can have a yellow colored dome, it will give you yellow color, blue color. So there are different colors available, but the illumination or the filament which is there is of one color. So the mind itself is of only one color. Okay. So imagine the mind is the one which is the filament, and through the mind, the body gets illuminated. Because if there's no mind, then you're not able to see, you're not able to touch, you're not able to sense anything, and your body itself becomes not available for recognition. Just as in deep sleep state, when you go to sleep, you do not even know who you are. Correct? Why? Because the mind itself has gone to rest. The mind itself is not available for recognition. Thereby, you are not able to understand who you are. You do not even know yourself. Forget about your mother and father and everybody else. It's not to anybody, right? But the bulb is still there. So after the class, you go home, you switch off, the bulb will be there, correct? The filament also is not there because the filament is still there, but you cannot, the light is not coming out. Why? Because there is electricity. There is electricity which is there, which is powering the filament. So without the electricity being there, can the filament burn? Cannot, right? Because you're all mute. or not on camera, I do not know whether you're understanding or not. But I'm hoping that you get the idea. So if you nod also, you'll know. If you don't nod also, you'll know. So without the electricity being there, can the filament burn? So what is required? Electricity is required, number one. Without electricity, the filament cannot burn. Without the filament, the bulb cannot come into existence. The bulb is useless. Sometimes we say, when we put the power on, the bulb doesn't glow. We don't suspect the electricity first. What do we do first? We put a ladder or stool, we remove the bulb, and then we look at the filament to say it is intact or not. The filament is broken, or it is coming, you can shake it, you can say it is loose, or it is torn. Then what do? You throw the bulb away, right? Along with the filament. So same thing happens to us when we pass away also. The mind along with the body goes away. And then what? You change another bulb. You go to the body shop, buy another bulb, screw the bulb, another one there, and then what happens? The light comes, and then you see again new things. Same thing happens to us when we pass away. So electricity is the one which is powering the filament. Filament is the one which is giving rise to the bulb being there. So here also Atmavan, Atma is the one which illumines the mind. Electricity cannot be seen. It cannot be touched. It cannot be enjoyed. Can you say that I'm enjoying electricity? Can somebody say, see, I'm enjoying electricity. I'm actually seeing electricity. I'm actually touching electricity. You cannot, because it is not something available. You know it is there. See, you know it is there because you cannot see the electricity going to anywhere. How do you know? Because you put the bulb, the light on, switch on, the light comes, you assume electricity is there. You don't have any pramanam. You do not have to do any validation. No, I still have to go and check if it is there or not. Correct? So that is why Atma here represents the consciousness or Satchit Anandaha, which is present in all of us as the unknowable, untouchable, unrecognizable, not an object of knowledge, but that is existing in all of us as one. So that is the one which is responsible for all of us being Chetanam or being aware. Right? So the purpose of making us aware is being done by the Atma without itself revealing itself as the Atma. So the person who understands the truth is called Atmavan. So Atmavan is a person who understands this truth as the essence of one's own self in every living and non-living being. Whether it is a spider, whether it is a cockroach, whether it's a plant, whether it is an animal, your own friend, relatives, father, mother, husband, everybody, anyone who is living in this, even the table also, even the computer, mobile phone, everything, there is one essence which is present as the vastu or substance. So without a substance, there cannot be something called a creation or nothing. Substance has to be there. Right? So the substance itself is called Atma, and here Atmavan is the one who is the holder of this Atma, the knower of the Atma. Just as Dhanavan, when you say Dhanavan means what? What's called Dhanam. Right? Gunavan, when you say, is the holder of the Gunas. Right? So in the same way, Atmavan is the one who understands who the Atma is. Atmavan.
So, excuse me, after our death, the Atma goes to Paramatma, isn't it?
See, there is nothing called death. Death is only for the physical body. Okay?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
If you think the physical body, death is always there, and there will be always another body.
Yeah.
Just as the physical bulb and the bulb.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So as long as you think we are the bulb, there will be another bulb coming there.
Yeah. Yes.
So
yeah.
if you think we are not a bulb, then we are electricity, then there's no need for anything else.
So Atma goes directly to another body.
Atma is different. Atma is consciousness, I told you. Atma is actually doesn't go anywhere. It is actually present in every being as it is. It does not travel because Atma doesn't have any attributes.
But electricity travels, isn't it?
No, electricity is example I'm giving you, but electricity is not example.
Yeah.
Electricity itself is powered by whom? There's a grid, correct?
Okay.
Grid itself is powered by whom?
A
Where is the
generator.
grid coming from? Grid is coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
Correct?
Generator.
So that power is coming from where? It is coming from sun. Sun is coming from where? So ultimately, where you arrive at the Atma only. So understanding the truth is important. If you just look at that Vedantic meaning, then you will be limited to only what you have. But you have to stretch it beyond. That's why study of Vedanta is required.
But why we call Atma and Paramatma? What's the
See,
difference?
Atma and Paramatma, there's no difference. Because Paramatma is the same as Atma. Paraha means what? That which is beyond. And Atma is saying that which is beyond everything is called Paramatma. So Paramatma, when you say Vishnu, it is actually a limited thing. Vishnu is the loka. But when Vishnu itself is actually not a place, Vaikuntham is not a place, then it is beyond everything. Right? So it's only understanding. So this is there's really nothing called Paramatma and Jiva. There's only Atma. Because even in Paramatma also, Atma is there. Jivatma also, Atma is there. So Jiva and Paramatma, they are not different things, they are same thing.
English is soul, soul, soul.
Soul is that is actually the one which is the Sukshma Shariram. English soul is actually very misconstrued. Soul is a Sukshma Shariram we call. Sukshma means all the subtle elements along with the the vasanas, mind, etc. is called the soul. The soul travels a blimba. So traveling is required only for the Sukshma. Correct. Atma does not travel anywhere. Atma is still the same thing. Right? So initially the understanding is that for the person who is not study Vedanta properly, this kind of doubts will come. Correct. So soul is something in English they talk about as we saw Sukshma Shariram. Sukshma also is what is actually belong to the elements, 5 elements. Sukshma Shariram, Stula Shariram, Karana Shariram. 3 types of Sharirams are there. All the three belong to the Panchabhutaha, 5 elements. And the 5 elements belong to the universe. So soul also belongs to the universe only, and it is only subtle vasanas which are traveling. And the person who says that, oh, let's bless for the soul in peace, it means what? The soul is actually going to take peace, means what? Is going to some place. It's going to come another janma. Right? So he's already assumed. We never call Atma, oh, let Atma rest in peace. Atma doesn't rest in peace because Atma is always peaceful. Atma doesn't have anything called disturbance. But here, that's what, here, I give an example just to give you understanding of how it is. But you must not actually take the little example as electricity is equal to Atma. What it says is here, it is just example like this. Okay? Atma is different, completely different. For that, you need to study Vedanta properly. You need to study Veda Shastram systematically, then only you understand. Come to Tattvabodha class, you will understand what I'm talking about. Okay. Okay. Then, so Atmavan. Then, next one. Verse number 10. Suresha Sharanam Sharma. Suresha Sharanam Sharma Vishwareta Prajabhavaha. Suresha Sharanam Sharma Vishwareta Prajabhavaha. Aham Samvatsaro Vyalaf Pratyaya Sarvadarshanaha. Aham Samvatsaro Vyalaf Pratyaya Sarvadarshanaha. Suresha Sharanam Sharma Vishwareta Prajabhavaha. Aham Samvatsaro Vyalaf Pratyaya Sarvadarshanaha. So Sureshaha. So Sura Ishaha. So Suraha plus Ishaha equal to Sureshaha. So who is Suraha? Sura means Devatas. Correct? So Suraha, Asuras. So we have 2 things. Sura and Asura. So Sura represents Devatas. Right? So all the Devatas like Indra, Agni, Vayu, and other Devatas, we got 33 crore Devatas. Correct? So in Tamil we say, 33 kodi Devargal. So all the Devatas which are there, they are called Devatas. They are called Suras. He is the Lord of the Isha means what? Ishaha means Lord of those Devatas. So if at all you want to worship these Upadeva, Kuti Devatas, Upadevatas, if you worship the topmost Lord, you do not need to worship anybody else. See, Bhagavan what says in Gita, he says that these people who are there, these small devatas, they can give you only what is limited knowledge. If you worship Grama Devata, they'll give you Grama Sumiksham. If you worship Kula Devatam, he'll give you, your Kulam should be good. So there are all limited. Ganapati will give you what he can give you. Shivan can give you limited things, he'll give you. Shakti will give you Shakti Upasana. So all of these are got limited, they all have limited things. They can only give you limited things. But all these put together is the Bhagavan. So a person who understands the existence of or the source of all the devatas is this Ishaha. So Sureshaha means the overlordship or the one who controls the entire devatas, who is responsible, is called Ishaha. Correct? Then Sharanam. See, Sharanam itself means surrender or seeking refuge. So we seek refuge in what? We surrender to food. We surrender to food. Very important, right? So when nice food comes, what do? We surrender. Oh my God, I just cannot resist this food. So we completely surrender. We surrender to shelter, good housing, one house, two house, three houses, bangala, all these things we surrender. Right? Property, right? We surrender to God men, fictitious God men. You listen to somebody in YouTube, somebody will say something, we surrender to him. Oh, he is very good. And you just follow that person for some time, then you know, oh no, he's different. So you surrender to somebody who do not know why you are surrendering to the person. Because you do not know, you are just like something. So God men, God mothers. So there are all people who surrender like this. So blind surrender is actually not good. You must not something surrender because you want to surrender. Surrendering should be made on understanding. Why you are surrendering, to whom you are surrendering, what is surrender means. Correct? Then only surrendering is important. Right? See, and surrendering should be total. Sharanam should be total. Correct? So you must not have partial surrender. So if you have, surrender to the Guru, saying that, see, I will see how he goes, or test. So if your objective is to test the Guru, your object test the Shastram, then your attitude is not right. Because you must have total faith, unconditioned surrender to the Guru and to the Bhagavan and to the Shastram. Three things are required. Unconditional surrender to the Guru, unconditional surrender to the Shastram, unconditional surrender to the Bhagavan. Because all the three are same. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva, Maheshwaraha. Right? So they're all same. So you must have faith in the Shastram. If a person doesn't teach Shastram to you, the person doesn't teach who the Bhagavan is, he is not called a Guru. So you must be very careful. So surrender means what? Sharanam. Correct? So even in the Mahabharata also, when Draupadi was being, disrobed in the open court, all are watching. And at that time, Draupadi was actually only worried about her chastity, right? She was worried about her physical body being exposed to the public, and they were all insulting and talking about it. At that time, she didn't have surrender completely. Even though she had Krishna in her view, she did not surrender completely. But the moment she said, I do not have any control over anything now, I surrender to you, Krishna, please. So she leaves her thought, she prays, and then Krishna protects her, right? So what it means is, when you have trust in the Bhagavan, trust in the Shastram, you'll be protected. If you have half trust in the Bhagavan, half trust in the, you will not protect it. It's like going to school. If you go to the school and saying that I don't trust a teacher, can you ever learn? You can never learn. You always go with the view that I trust a teacher. I trust the school. See, you trust the institution where you're going. You trust the teaching method being followed, and you trust the teacher. The three things are important, correct? If you don't trust the school at all, how will you trust the teaching method? If you don't So very important, correct? Same way. Shastra is
Excuse me,
important.
sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir, sorry. I have to leave right now because I have another class now.
Yes.
Can I leave?
Yeah, please go ahead. No problem. I'm
Thank
going
you,
to
sir.
finish. I'm going to finish in another 1 minute. It's okay. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sharanam represents surrender. Okay. So I will talk about it more next class because we already passed 5:30. So we just mark it as 86th word, Sharanam. Right? Sureshaha Sharanam Sharma Vishwareta Prajabhavaha Aham Samvatsro Vyalaha Pratyaya Sarva Darshanaha. Okay. So we'll revisit word number 86. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tatsat Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Namaste Shubhratri.
சுவாமி மத்தியானம் சுவாமி அம்மாவோட கிளாஸ் இருக்குங்க. பகவத்கீதை அட்டன் பண்ண முடியாது.
பரவாயில்ல. நீங்க அந்த இது சண்டி பண்றீங்க, சண்டி ஹோம் தானே?
தேவி மகாத்மியம்.
நீங்க பண்ணுங்க, பிரச்சனை கிடையாது.
3 hours இருக்குங்க.
பண்ணுங்க. No problem. Hello.